Hey, this is Danny from Scare Talk. Before we get into all the horror greatness, I gotta let you know about Anchor. Anchor is the host site that we use to record our podcast. Anchor will upload your podcast to Apple and Spotify and many other listening platforms. Anchor is completely free, and you can download the app or go to the website, anchor.fm, and you can record straight on there. There's also some cool editing tools that you can use. Did I mention that it's free? Yeah, so if you want to make a podcast, Anchor is the way to go. Go check it out. Now, for the spooky stuff.
Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror fans. This podcast will cover horror movie reviews, ratings, and rankings. Now for your hosts, Danny and Joel.
Yeah, this is Scare Talk. This is Danny, and I'm here with...
Having issues there?
Jelly Joel.
Okay.
It took me a minute.
Hey guys, what's up? Yeah.
I just came up with Jelly Joel. It's not really that fun, but...
Oh man. That's, they can't all be winners.
Right? Yeah. I just really want to get into this review,
Exactly, yeah.
And we are going to talk about a brand new film.
Time with nicknames.
Right. This one is A Quiet Place Part 2 from this year, 2021.
Part dos.
Yeah, and just saw this. I saw it 2 days ago. You saw it yesterday? Yeah?
Yeah, I saw it yesterday.
Yeah, so we saw this the day it came out. So,
yeah.
All right, Joel, who is in this?
All right, so this one stars Emily Blunt. She was in The Wolfman, Edge of Tomorrow, Dan in Real Life, and she's going to be in Jungle Cruise, which is a Disneyland, Disney World ride. So,
yes,
that they're making into a movie.
Yeah, I saw an article. I think it was by Bloody Disgusting, and it was talking about how Jungle Cruise is going to be like a horror movie.
No, it's not.
I don't know. Ridiculous. I don't know what. I didn't read the whole thing, but I was like, why are they posting about this movie? And,
I was when you said Bloody Disgusting, I was like, what are they talking about this movie for? This is a Disney movie.
I was like, why are they posting about this movie? So, anyways,
wow,
yeah,
maybe it's saying like how it could be a horror movie, but
I don't know.
No, it's definitely not.
I didn't look too far into it, but like the title of the article made it seem like they were trying to say that this was going to be like a intense movie. So. I don't know.
I mean, it looks like it's gonna be like action packed, and it could have intense scenes, but no, it's definitely not horror.
Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. This one also stars Millicent Simmons. She plays Reagan, the daughter, in this movie. And she was in Wonderstruck, A Quiet Place, and a Close-Up, which was a 2020 TV movie.
Okay.
Cillian Murphy, who was in 28 Days Later, Batman Begins, Red Eye, and he's in that Netflix show Peaky Blinders.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And this was written by John Krasinski. He wrote a movie called Brief Interviews with Hideous Men.
All right.
Promised Land with Matt Damon, and A Quiet Place.
All right.
And this was directed by John Krasinski, who directed Brief Interviews with Hideous Men. It was his directorial debut.
Is that like movie. A feature, like full-length movie?
Yeah, it was an actual movie.
Okay.
It was like a 2-hour. I
never
looked
heard
it
of
up.
it.
Yeah, it was like a 2-hour movie. I haven't either, but it came out in like 2009. So
Oh, wow.
it's been out for yeah. The Hollers, The Office, 3 episodes of The Office, and A Quiet Place.
All right, cool. All right, so following the events at home, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world. Forced to venture into the unknown, they realize the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only threats lurking beyond the sand path. I feel like that's a little misleading.
It is. It definitely is.
And, you know, when we saw the trailer
was kind of misleading, too.
Yeah. Because, it's definitely, I mean, let's not go into spoilers for this one until we get more toward the end. But, I think that's a little misleading. So.
It definitely is. It's like, all right.
I mean, there's like a part in the movie where that makes sense to be in the description, but it's not a very big part of the movie. So
it's like a 5-minute scene. Yeah. So it's definitely not. Seeing this movie and going back to the trailer for it. I didn't rewatch the trailer or anything like that, but I remembered the trailer just saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
About how they're not the only thing to be worried about, basically.
Yeah.
And it was that's not really. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but there's really not a whole lot of spoilers, but that I feel like is kind of a spoiler.
Yeah. For
this movie, for sure. So I was like, all right, kind of looked a little dumbfounded, I guess, when you were talking about that. I was like, all right, well, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah. All right. So, well, this is the follow-up to Quiet Place, and that this one was supposed to come out in March of 2020.
This was the first one to get moved back.
Yeah. Because
of the pandemic.
Yeah. When you saw this yesterday, did it have a little intro by John Krasinski?
It did. Yeah. He talked to me.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of cool, I
like that.
Yeah. He was like, hey, thanks for coming to the actual theater, Yeah. I thought that was cool because I'm sure for a director and a writer to put so much time and effort into a movie and then to have it delayed for a year, it's probably pretty frustrating. And I'm sure there's a lot of decisions to be made there too. Okay, do we feel like it's worth it to put it, to on demand? Should this be in theaters? So I'm sure that there was a lot of, thoughts to be had when the pandemic started and all that. So I'm sure it's a big relief or just an excitement for him to have the movie finally come out, So that was kind of cool to see.
I can, I don't see that very often, but I feel like this year, so it's different because with most directors and everything, they're not usually the ones putting their money behind it. They're not the ones creating it, but he wrote this movie. He was the only person that wrote this movie.
Yeah.
He directed it. I think he was a producer of it as well.
Yeah,
so this was his movie.
Yeah, for sure. First one, too.
So the first one. I don't think he wrote the first one. But he definitely directed it.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, okay.
He may have done the story or something, but I think he heard something he read the script and was like, I want to be involved in this.
Oh, okay.
And so he started it and also ended up directing it too. So
cool.
So this is his movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So I can definitely understand him being really excited about this finally coming out.
Yeah.
And I mean, there had been reviews before, a year ago when this movie was supposed to be released. Critics had seen this movie a year ago.
Yeah.
This was literally a week before coming out.
Right.
That they shut everything down.
I remember that. Yeah.
This was going to be the next movie that we reviewed.
Yeah, because we reviewed the first one.
Reviewed A Quiet Place. Yeah.
In preparation. So you can go back a year and check that episode out.
Yeah. In case you're where's the first one? It's way down there.
Yeah.
We did that one back in February, March.
Yeah.
So yeah, for him, it especially means something more to him.
Yeah.
That this came out finally.
Right. And,
So.
like John Krasinski, he seems like he's just kind of a down-to-earth, like, real guy,
Yeah, he does.
So,
it seems like that.
Yeah. So, I definitely, I believe that more seeing that little intro. I'm like, yeah, he's excited about this, It's not just another project for him to do and make money and move on to the next. Like, it means something to him. So, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Joel, let's talk about some positives. What do you got?
All right. So, I love that they went back in time. It was kind of like a prequel within a sequel, but they didn't spend too much time in the past.
Yeah.
In the prequel. It was basically the first 10 minutes of the movie. And that opening scene was really intense.
I agree.
When you see day one, and like from the preview, it showed some of what was going to happen in the preview, but it didn't show everything.
Yeah.
And it didn't show exactly when it was going to happen.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that
when it hits, oh my gosh.
That whole baseball scene, that like everything leading up to actually seeing, what was that, like a spaceship that they saw?
Yeah, I don't know. Something on fire, bursting. I don't know.
It feels like it was like a spaceship. I'm like, okay, well, apparently they're aliens.
Yeah.
Which we don't really get much information about them, which I still kind of liked.
Yeah.
We did get some, but not a lot. And like that, because something's going to happen, you just don't know when.
Right.
So that whole baseball scene leading up to them looking up was just so intense, because anything could happen at any time. And then they all decide to leave. Like, okay, something's going on.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here. And then, they get in the car, and then like all hell breaks loose, basically.
Yeah.
And that whole scene was just so intense, and just
and it
just
looked
very well shot.
Yeah, it looked really cool.
Yeah. And I love, they didn't do this a whole lot, so they did it enough for me to just give this the biggest positive in the world. When they go, when the audio goes from, normal to basically to nothing, so you're basically hearing what Reagan is hearing.
Yeah.
The daughter, it's amazing too. Like seeing him, like you're not hearing anything at all going on, and you're seeing everyone freak out around her.
Right.
Like the John Krasinski gets in the car really quick and starts, it's like it's freaking out, but you don't hear anything going on.
Yeah.
You just see it. Like that's exactly what it would feel like.
Yeah.
What it feels like to her going through this. I love those scenes.
Yeah.
There were a couple of them like that, and they were perfect.
Yeah. And that adds to like suspense,
Yeah, it does.
You don't know when the audio is going to come back. So it's kind of, a lot of this movie is quiet, of course.
It's a quiet place.
Yeah. Which just makes it so much more intense, though.
It does, yeah. Yeah, the audio is definitely, it's basically another character in this movie.
Right, yeah.
Just like with the first one, it's basically a character in those movies. And I love that. You can have like a script that's not a whole lot of dialogue and still be an incredibly intense movie.
Yeah.
Depending on how you use the audio, how you use the sound and music and everything like that.
Yeah.
And this one does it really well, just like with the first one.
Yeah.
The audio is definitely one of the best things about these movies.
Yeah.
Both of them. And that's saying something, because I really enjoyed both of these movies. So
yeah, me too.
If that's one of the best, then I still have other positives to talk about. So, with these movies. So, I love the acting in this. I was for obvious reasons, bummed that John Krasinski wasn't in it longer.
Yeah.
He died in the first one. That's not really a spoiler.
Yeah.
So of course he couldn't be in it more than the prequel part of it.
Yeah.
But I liked his appearance. I liked having him in the first movie.
Right.
So I kind of felt like it was going to take something away, him not being in it, but it really didn't.
No, it didn't.
Because I felt like Cillian Murphy did an amazing job as sort of like the replacement John Krasinski.
Yeah.
In this movie, and he's just a great actor anyway. He needs to be in more stuff for sure. The pacing is really well done. The audio, the acting is really good. The girl, the daughter, she was amazing in this movie.
Yeah, she was she was pretty big in the first one too, but I feel like she's way more of the main character in this one.
Oh yeah, she was a more main character than Emily Blunt was. Yeah. She was barely in this movie more than John Krasinski was. Yeah. It felt like. Because she was about her going off on her adventure.
Yeah.
To take down the aliens.
Right.
And so yeah, that was like the whole adventure part of it was really cool. Like, you know, it's a horror movie, but it's also like an adventure type movie as well. Movie. Survival. Yeah. And yeah, it was just a really well made, well done movie. Yeah.
What'd you think of the monsters? Because you definitely see them more in this movie.
You see them. So, okay. They're kind of like the Cloverfield type monster, just a lot smaller.
Yeah.
So the thing with the first one, I loved the mystery of it.
Right.
Of not knowing what these creatures look like until you see them.
Yeah.
And which isn't until like 3/4 of the movie that you even see what these creatures look like. They just attack and disappear.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, on the flip side of that, it doesn't bother me at all that they showed them a lot in this movie.
Right.
Because we already know what they look like. There's no suspense in that anymore.
Right.
So I liked that they're like giant spider-like creatures. Like,
yeah. You know, like, what they remind me of is the Lickers from Resident Evil.
Yeah.
That is kind of like the design, I feel like, almost.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
And Venom. For some reason, I think of Venom, the Spider-Man character. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's an alien too, so.
Yeah.
I feel like the design definitely was taken from multiple things for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely it's not like an original. It's an original in that it's, you know, it's not identical to anything.
Yeah.
But it definitely has taken from several different things for sure. And I do like the design. The design's pretty cool.
Me too.
So I just needed to throw it in there that it's like, okay, you see it a lot more in this movie than you did in the first movie.
Yeah.
But that's not what the first movie was about.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's more or less like we're deeper into this world now in this one. So of course you're going to see these creatures from the viewer's perspective more in this one than you probably did in the first one.
Yeah.
I'm curious about how the third one's going to go.
Yeah.
So when I first heard that they're making a sequel to this one, based on how the ending to the first one went, I thought this was going to be a whole lot different than it was.
Oh, okay.
And it's not like a positive or a negative. For me, it's just kind of like, okay, this is a different way of taking it. But it was sort of in some ways it ended the way that the first one ended.
Yeah.
They both ended kind of abruptly.
Yeah.
And, you know, it ended taking a couple of them out. But there's so much more to be said with that going forward. And there's so much more of a story that they didn't go through with this movie.
They can go in a lot of directions with this. It's a very open, blank slate still.
It is, yeah. And that's saying a lot for like your second movie. Like,
and it's not like necessarily a bad thing, you know, that they are keeping it so open. Yeah,
for sure. I wish that John Krasinski was directing the third one because as of right now, he's not directing it. He's just producing it.
Yeah.
So hopefully once it actually gets made, he actually jumps on board and directs it.
Yeah.
Because you can't just end on your second movie. You gotta finish out at least like your trilogy. Like,
Yeah.
you can have an ending to this movie in one more movie.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely.
Or you can continue on with this world.
Yeah.
Depending on how you want to do it. And it would be better to have an ending as opposed to just continuously making more and more of these movies.
Yeah.
This is not a slasher genre.
Yeah.
This can't have an ending. But
all right, is that your positives?
yeah, that would be my positives there.
Okay. So for me, the suspense just as good as the first one, which was the main positive for me in the first one. The use of the just quiet scenes makes, so there's jump scares in this for sure. And it made me jump a couple of times. But I feel like they're not cheap. They're more legit because it's just what needs to happen in the movie. It needs to be quiet. So it's not like, cheap. In other horror movies, it's like all of a sudden it'll be quiet, where it wasn't before. And so it's kind of like setting you up for the jump scare. This one, the whole movie is a setup for a jump scare.
Yeah.
So it seems more natural and more genuine. And it definitely got me a couple of times, which was surprising. The monsters are cool. I like them. They're CGI, of course, but they look pretty good. Like,
yeah, it does.
When they're like attacking
CGI,
and throwing people around and stuff, like it's a pretty brutal action scenes for PG-13. I was pretty surprised. There's some pretty rough. I mean, not super bloody or gory or anything, but people get tossed around and thrown around pretty good by these things.
Yeah, they do.
And there's some blood
some
and
casualties.
Yeah.
In this movie.
So yeah, really cool. So besides the suspense, what I really like about this one, and I feel like the first one had some of this too, but the storytelling, there's, a few characters and it kind of bounces from one character to the next and kind of what is going on with what they're dealing with. Yeah. And most of the movie is bouncing around from character to character, and it does not let you breathe. Like, even when you change to characters, they're dealing with some real high pressure circumstances. Oh yeah. And each one of them. And it's just nonstop tension and suspense. And some of the transitions from the scenes were really cool too. Like, one of the characters will be doing something and then it'll transition to the other character, like doing something similar. It'll kind of give you a cool transition there. So I liked that. I love the ending. Again, there's
an abrupt ending.
Yeah, it's an abrupt ending, but it's like an emotional ending. Yeah, it kind of grabs you, which I really liked. It kind of like gives you the chills at the end with how it all kind of comes together. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a good movie.
It is. Yeah.
I would say it's definitely one of the top movies so far from this year for me. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's the best so far. I would have to really think about that, but
it'll make our top 10 list at this point.
Yeah, maybe. Right now, I would say so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really liked it. The characters, the acting, the concept, just all of it is really good. And I'm not a big monster movie fan. But if you're going to make a monster movie, like this is how you do it. It's not really
about the monsters.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. It's the elements, it's the senses of humans that makes this movie what it is. The monsters are kind of secondary. So,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. There we go. I love this movie. All right. let's move on to some negatives. I do have a couple. So
Yeah, I have a couple as well. Not a whole lot, but I do have some stuff here. So I loved the prequel beginning part of this movie, but when it got to like present day,
yeah,
I was a little bit disappointed because it's not it doesn't start exactly how the first one ended, which is what I thought they were going for. It kind of seemed like it was.
Yeah.
But how the first one ended, if you put these like back to back and like watch them in order, the first one ended with like you hear, I'm pretty sure it's been a little while since I've seen it, but you hear the creatures like coming for them.
Yeah. And you see them on the camera.
Like, yeah, and she like cocks her gun and then it fades to black.
Yeah.
But they're not in any danger
right.
when it cuts to present day.
Yeah.
In this movie. And I was like, what happened there?
Yeah.
I was like, you can't end a first movie like that and then just cut to, oh, we're totally fine.
Yeah.
In your next movie when it's supposed to be taking place directly after.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's a difference between, because I'm pretty sure there are differences between like a part and a chapter.
Yeah.
Like part 2 is a direct part to part 1. It goes simultaneously.
Right.
It flows smoothly. A chapter is just like it's like a chapter book. You know, something else can happen somewhere else.
Right.
And, you know, that's for the next chapter.
Yeah.
So to have like a part, like it's got to flow naturally. Right. And that beginning part didn't really flow because that's not how the first part ended.
Okay. That's valid. I like that.
So that's why I thought this movie was going to be totally different when I first heard about it, because the way part 1 ended seemed like part 2 was going to be like some action movie.
Right.
You're going to be fighting off these creatures.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was like a swarm of them coming to them.
Yeah. They were coming.
Yeah. But they were equipped with the hearing aid. So
they were. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even that, like, you need to have a gun also with it. Like, it's not going to be enough to kill them with the hearing aid. So you still need like 2 people to take one of these things out. So it's like, it was a little bit disappointing that it didn't start the way that the first part ended.
Yeah.
But I still would like thoroughly enjoyed this movie, like a lot. It just felt like it kind of felt like part 1 over again instead of a part 2 to the story. Because of that, I mean, they have this secret weapon now for this part, which is the hearing aid, which comes in handy a couple of times, which is really cool. But it's like, I don't know, it felt parallel to the first and not an actual sequel to the first.
Okay.
In that regard. But having said that, it's still a fantastic movie. And I also did not like the son.
Okay.
For some reason, they need to have one of their kids be an idiot in both of these movies.
Yeah, him getting out for like what reason?
Yeah. Leaving the baby behind? Like, are you serious right now? Like, no, come on.
Like, what was he doing?
I don't. He was.
What was he trying to do?
What he was doing. It's like the kid in the first one being stupid and ending up getting killed, and then this kid being stupid and doesn't die, but I mean, he puts people in danger.
Yeah,
almost dies a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just like, there were some eye rolling moments with him.
Yeah. And
like you're over a year into this world. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You should know better.
Yeah.
You're was he? I don't know if he was older than the daughter or like younger, but even if he was younger, like, you're still old enough to not be an idiot in this world.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think he was like one of my biggest negatives, because he was just, it takes away from the quality of a movie like this when you have someone doing something. Yeah, it adds tension and suspense, but you got to have some, like, how are you alive over a year into this world if this is how you're going to act?
Yeah.
Like, even the slightest bit of noise could kill you.
Yeah.
And you've made it this far.
Yeah.
Like, no, how?
Yeah. There should have been more of a reason for him doing what he did. They could have made it make a lot more sense if there was more of a reason.
Yeah.
And I was watching it thinking, why is he doing what he's doing right now? Like, why is he doing this?
To put people in jeopardy.
Yeah. It just seemed like he needed some story going on, his little side thing. So they threw that in there to.
I've got nothing going on right now. I need something.
I need some drama.
No, you need to just stay there and be quiet.
Yeah.
Let other people figure things out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It, like you were saying, it adds suspense, but it also takes away a little bit of quality of the movie.
Yeah.
When you have something so like brilliantly written, and to write a character like that is just,
yeah.
I don't know. That's really all I've got.
Okay.
It was just the flow of just the beginning of this movie against the ending of the last movie didn't flow. And then the son.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not like he was a main character. He wasn't he wasn't being stupid the entire movie. It was just certain parts.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I think those are valid. I would agree with both of those. I didn't think of the flow between the first and second. That is a good point there. Something else I did want to bring up, and it was a negative for me in the first one too, the electricity. How do they have electricity?
A year, especially like now it's like a year, like 413 days.
Yeah, like come on, you can't have lights on right now. There's no power company. So
yeah, I know.
So that's just kind of something I noticed. Just something I laugh at.
Yeah, it's a cliche. It's a trope.
Yeah,
for these types of movies, there's got to be some electricity somewhere. Going on.
And then like it's kind of funny to say, but some of it was kind of quiet. Like there
was some quiet scenes in a quiet place.
Like even when there's dialogue, it was kind of hard for me to hear because they're like whispering, Yeah. So like the first kind of exchange,
they're not going to shout at each other.
Yeah. The first exchange between Emily Blunt and the dude, like. Because he has like a thing over his mouth, and it's like what are they saying? I can't hear them. And so that was
put the subtitles on.
That was kind of hard. At first, it got better throughout the movie. So there was that, and then I didn't really understand how the girl figured out where the like radio was coming from. That was confusing. It was
beyond
to me.
The sea.
Yeah.
She figured out that it was in code from the song,
right.
The one song that was playing the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they
But how she figured out where it
riddle.
Was is what, because she had like the exact location.
Yeah, she did.
So it could have been anywhere beyond the sea, sea. So that was, because she was talking about how there's this and that and blah, 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 and then it's right here. And I'm like, what is she talking about? How did she get there?
Yeah.
But she's supposed to be like her dad, and he was like this genius engineer or whatever. Yeah. So I guess she's forgiven.
Of course he would write his character like that.
But that's really it. Overall, it's a really good movie. So I can forgive it for some of those flaws.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't think we need to go into spoilers. I don't think I really want to.
No?
Go into specifics. Okay. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, there's only like a couple. Like, it does explain a couple things about the creatures, and as far as spoilers go, there's really not a whole lot that it actually happens that, would be spoiler territory.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think we've covered the movie pretty well, so.
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay, let's rate it.
All right. So I'm not entirely sure what I gave the first one. It's been like a year since we recorded it.
I looked back on my notes and I saw that I gave it a B. So I think we weren't even doing like percentages back then. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was the early days of our recording. So, I was going to give this one a 90, but I don't want to give this one higher than I did the first one, cuz I mean, it's really good, but I wouldn't say it's as good as the first one, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
So I
don't know what you gave it. I just know I gave it a B.
I'm going to give it a 90.
Okay.
90 is my final answer.
All right. Okay, I'm giving it an 88. I think this is just as good, if not honestly better than the first one.
Oh, wow.
I'd have to see it maybe a couple more times to really know. I'm kind of off of a high watching it still.
Yeah. It's been 2 days for you watching it.
So maybe, down the road I would not say that, but right now I think it's just as good or better. I feel like some of the stakes were raised in this one. We got to see more of the monsters. They were really tearing stuff up. So
yeah.
I think it was a little
they were
more at stake there. So yeah, 88, and you gave it a 90. So
a 90,
a good movie for the 2021. We're hitting it pretty good. We've had some good, solid,
it's a decent
films.
year for horror so far.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guess we're done there. We got the Conjuring movies. We got the Quiet Place. We got plenty of others coming on down the road. The Purge, we're going to go through those.
Yep. That'll be our next series we go through.
Yeah, so look out for that coming soon.
There's only 4 of those right now, so 5th one comes out in like July, I think.
Yeah. Okay, well that's it. This has been Scare Talk.
Sleep tight.
Don't let A Quiet Place monsters bite.
They don't have it.